Okay, so I'm in my bedroom. My little house. I've only got 4 rooms. I've got a living room, 2 bedrooms, and a bathroom. We'll have the kitchen, but that's kind of just like a little, like a closet area off the living room, really. But anyways, I'm in my bedroom because my company, they are freaked out to sleep in their bedroom, so they're asleep on the couch. And it definitely, when I'm out there and recording and someone's sitting there, it definitely is on my mind. And so I was like, "Oh, man, it's not 6 yet. I've been up like all fucking night. This has been going for days. Like yesterday, I didn't record. I was like, oh my God, I was such a mess. Um, and it started yesterday morning. And um, I was just trying to think because I was just all of a sudden I go, hey, I think you forgot to put on mascara. I was like, yeah, I think you're right. Um, let me get back on track because that is what I mostly wanted to talk. Like this weird thing, whatever's happening in my body, like all of the things that are happening, just like how they had told me or showed me. Like I'm seeing all that happen. Like, man, I can't even tell you how many crazy stories and testimonials and man, and it's always these whole groups of people going through all of this stuff and talking about it. And and all so much tragedy, like all of the stuff is exactly like what they were showing me and telling me. Just because I don't know every specific detail, but they've made that really clear to me too, is that it's individual soul stuff. Like, while we're sitting here too, like this bag here, this is a mural I painted. So I'll show you real quick since we're sitting here. I painted that one on my wall. I painted always on my walls at my houses. But anyways, that's because it's half shown. Okay. So anyways, the the stuff that is going on inside of my body and the stuff that like this is so strange. Yesterday I couldn't, there was no way. I mean, right now my eyes hurt so bad. But yesterday, oh my God, they were, even by the time I went in, it was like dark bags under my eyes. They were all swollen, and I had been crying. It was like the first thing I saw, because definitely my sleep has been really jacked up. Like I've been up several hours throughout the night, and then get like a little sleep here, a little sleep there. It's like really messed up. Stella's doing really, really bad, and having somebody new in the house just has disrupted kind of our regular programming, our regular, you just fall into a rhythm in your life, especially when you're by yourself. You just really notice that you just kind of fall into your own rhythm, your own patterns. You eat when you are hungry, you just go by what's internally going on, by what you need. And so I, been living like that for a while. And it's so funny too, because I kind of thought like that would just easily rub off on somebody. But I've got so many things that I've been kind of shown and seen and stuff lately. Like about, just a for instance, is yesterday I did have to go and drive and pick up a bunch of stuff, go to take her to the school to get her set up. So I went and got groceries and all that stuff. Oh yeah, today's payday. Oh yeah, today's Wednesday. Yeah, I gotta do that. And that's Social Security. Damn it, I wish I would have looked beforehand. Because everybody's saying after tomorrow, there's not going to be any. That they've already said they're cutting out all that stuff. That's why you got all these people panicking. So I was curious if mine's going to be in there today. But I know it's all collapsing. Like I'm prepared mentally and emotionally. I look forward to the collapse because I know that that's going to put us into a better place. And I saw footage of somebody saying all these different countries that are already on, like some of them are on the gold standard, some of them are on some sort of silver, some of them are on oil and gold, and some are on oil and silver. And so but every single thing is backed by something real, and that is what I've been saying the whole time, is that's where we're headed. That's why if you choose some crypto, you got to make sure it's backed by something or it's going to fall with the rest of the stuff. Because everything we're going into is no more this, pretend world. It's going to have like, you got to have something solid. Because, it was just made to interfere and control us. And I am just so blown away now how, like, when I started talking about how they were controlling our movement, how it was really started standing out to me, especially that day coming home from seeing my daughter, and how they stopped us out in the middle of nowhere for 2 fucking hours for no fucking reason. And they had the signs up, slow moving traffic. Dude, I've driven this enough times, and most every single fucking person out here has. And I knew exactly what they were fucking doing. And then, so as when on all my road trips, all of them, because I was talking about it on whatever ones, like I can see them right now, pulling up, and then this constant controlling our movement. And I've been saying they're controlling our movement, and people don't realize how they're controlling our movement and their desire to get us into cities. Well, now they want to fracture those cities into more controllable things, and into their 15-minute highly watched over, where this one guy was doing this whole thing about, that they want to microchip us and stuff like that, like they do animals. And I said, well, they tag animals that they watch out in the wild, right? Like, that is what they see us as, that's why they put cameras and stuff. But they tell us it's for our safety. They always try and market it for the positive for us, but the positive really leans in their direction, not in our direction. The cameras end up probably, I don't know, I've seen a lot, those cameras solve a lot of crimes. That is the thing with the CCTV, where it's like, man, I kind of really like the CCTV, but then they're using it for their own, creepy stuff about watching us, and they can see where we move. Like, even when you watch them on that thing, she walked from here, she went over there, like, they can completely watch our movement, and they can, like, say, for instance, with me, somebody who speaks out against the system. And I mean, right now, I'm not a threat because they keep me so contained. When I really started thinking about how they could create that container, because when the TikTok, because when I had got back on, and I was kind of under the radar, and my daughter had that one viral go of me, and so she was like, everybody wants to talk to you. You got to start one. I was like, I don't know. And then I started one, and I was like, I was just trying to be real positive and upbeat, which drew in a certain group of people that got really offended, because when my YouTube went into restriction, I went on that one and started complaining, and that's where all these people started gravitating towards me, and it started going really fast, and I kept having videos going viral real quick, and that is when they just shut it down. And then I even noticed that a couple started to go, and they go like up to 1,000 or 2,000 or something views, but then they restricted it down more. So that's where I started seeing, like, man, whatever control they have is significant. But for me, I think that's what keeps me safe, is they see me as no threat, because they've already come out and done their whole thing. And they know I'm not involved in any of those militia group people. I even told them, I said, I'm just an old woman who's pissed off at what she sees. So, like, I'm going to talk about it. And so then, and they were really nice to me and stuff. But, it's always on a need to know. They don't know why, they don't know why I'm on a list. I don't even fucking know why I'm on a list. Like, but I know I'm on a list because I see people say way worse things than me. And I've never seen another fucking person say the Secret Service shut up at their house. So when I see people say some, oh my God, yeah, like, to me, it's quite clear that, there's a whole group of men in America who were ready, for battle. And just like I said with the wood guy the other day, as soon as I had said that one thing, and all of a sudden he was like, okay, gotta go. I was like, because those people are very, and the reason I know that is because with my last husband, he had a whole weird, like, he had so many weird things, like, in his story, his past, his history and stuff. But he was going and hanging out with this side of the family that he was restricted from as a child. And then he started hanging out with them, but they were a lot of partiers and stuff like that, a lot of drinkers and drug addicts and stuff. And so he um, was hanging out with them, and his one cousin was in a relationship with this fella whose mom was in one of those groups. And so he would talk about that. He would talk about, because we would go over there all the time, because my ex wanted to hang out with these people, and they all partied, and so they go over there, and we'd sit outside around these campfires, and they'd all get just drunk as shit. But it was fun. They were fun. I mean, there wasn't like a lot of drama usually. I think that they, of course, any situation like that, there was drama, and I'm probably just not remembering. But I remember a lot of stuff sitting out there on their farm, and Winston, and at the time I had a dog named Jim, and Winston and Jim would go out and run around the yard. I really miss that dog too. I feel so bad because that dog was one my ex had gotten. And when we had gotten together, because I had Winston, he was a cat person, so he got this dog, and we had no idea what kind of dog it was, but it was really, really huge. It was really cool. It was very into it. I've never seen a dog look like this. And but the dog didn't like me particularly, and he had gotten it from a guy who, was like me. It's just him and the dog. For this guy, just had that dog for 1 year, and it was just him and the dog. And then he got a girlfriend with a kid, and he started blowing off the dog, and the dog got angry, but he was very connected to the guy. So then when my ex got this dog, the dog did not like me, and was very connected to him. Even if he jumped in the swimming pool, the dog would jump in and try and rescue him and start biting and trying to grab him and pull him out and stuff. Anyway, so when we split, I mean, he was obviously, the dog was going with him. But I think, I've had no contact with him ever since our split. But I feel pretty sure that, no, I did have one, where I did go see Jim. I think this was before our divorce, though. And I did see Jim, and he was out in the yard, and he was so excited. It breaks my heart. And that is the thing, is like with Winston and Jim, because they were both around the same age, and they grew up so close like brothers, and they loved each other. And we would go out to that farm, and they just had the best time. Oh my God, they would have so much fun running around with rolling in horse shit and all sorts of stuff. They just enjoy stuff. So I always think of like when Winston left, that him and Jim met back up. But anyways, it's just a whole side story on that. But I don't even know where I'm at. I'm so scattered. So, there's a thing I wanted to talk about. Was like, yesterday. So one of the times when I woke up, and I can't remember what it was. I must have went on to TikTok or something, and then I saw something that was emotional, and so I just started crying. And I was just crying and crying and crying. I was like, oh my gosh, where is this coming from? These emotions. And it was another thing and another thing. So I just kept crying and crying. And I was like, man, this is draining. What am I so emotional about? And then to me, it seems like, because this is something that I wanted to for sure say, because I noticed this, because I think that there's some sort of a spiritual attack situation. And so to me, how like people are always like, especially right now, between 1 and 3, most people are up. By 3 o'clock, they're just being so heavily, the people who are paying attention, you see them talking about it all the time, that and they're like, oh my gosh, the downloads or whatever they call it. To me, it's just communication, but you can hear it, a lot at that time. And so I think it's partly hard to sleep through it. But anyways, yesterday, it was like this attack of negativity. To me, it's kind of like, it's all about our perspective. In all of things, it's about your perspective. How do you look at it? Do you look at it as something good for you, or do you look at it as something negative? It's all in how you see things. And so the tax is kind of tries to interfere with how you see things. And so it will just be this uh, chat. And see, the thing is with energies that are like that or good at that or whatever, it's like you got to think about like parasites or something, I think, and how some have adapted to being able to uh, survive throughout all different things. And so it's, to me, it's kind of like that, like kind of like they're uh, parasites, because you got to think about energy as consciousness. Like all energy is not conscious energy. It is not consciousness uh, questioning itself, questioning its reality. I mean, right now we're in this existence where we are witnessing living beings that are not capable of questioning the reality or questioning who and what they are. And so you can see how it's a developmental process. And the whole problem is because of so much interference, you don't know. And understanding of this place being like a school, kind of like a funneling system, because they really kind of showed me like it's like a filtering system, just like your kidneys, and how there's been so much stuff about kidneys in the news lately and stuff. And so they were making it really clear to me, because when you think about how the body, micro, macro, how the body represent the rest of the solar system of natural existence. So it'll work in the same kind of process. So there's filtering systems. And so Earth, like even yesterday, I did a soak, trying to soak the stuff out of me. And there was this bubble going around, and they were showing me almost even to the point where I saw, life going on inside of the bubble, and how the bubble was floating around out in the sea with all atmosphere above them is still, because that's the thing, is we just don't realize. I saw this coolest footage that this person just did, and theirs was kind of like a disclosure in cartoons or something, and one of them was Mickey Mouse and the Wizard. uh, I don't know what movie it is or whatever, but he's talking to a wizard, and the wizard is showing about the earth and how it's, this just felt like an island. And then how that they were going to change people's perspective by telling them it was on a ball, and telling them the ball was spinning. Like he's going through the whole thing, telling them how they're going to control our perspective and our perception in order to control us and stuff. And then I think it's Mickey's like, oh, I'm not going to do that or something. I don't know. But then she shows another one where it is, maybe it's Dora or some fish one. It's some sort of fish thing. And whatever they were saying, but it was because this, like the earth and the multi-dimensional, and everything is from all, like it starts at the surface of the ocean, I mean the bottom of the ocean, all the way up to, to the firmament, and even going outside of that. But so she was explaining, like it was something with this fish, and I don't know if it had to do something about taking its breath or something, because it only knew how to breathe water. But then once it did this process, then it would be at the surface, and then it would see other things and stuff. So there's this whole process, and when you understand, like, even think of it as a bubble, and how the bubble, when a bubble starts, doesn't it come from the bottom and work its way up until it gets to the top and pops? And aren't we moving up and going into the place where it's going to pop in at the surface when everybody's ready to look above the water? And so I think kind of like that to me is when I saw those clips, I was like, oh man, even just the whole thing about the surface and stuff, because it just matched so much of how like they show me things in my head. And so then it was like, oh, so it was something in this cartoon about like we were amphibians or something, and in order to see more, in the development, which we know it was about our DNA and stuff. Like, there's so much about that. Now I'm seeing other people say, like, where did white people come from? Like, it's all the things, like, that I will notice or see, or they'll tell me or point out. That's the thing, is they'll, like, point things out. They'll make things noticeable to you. Like, you walk in a room, certain thing is noticeable. It's like you are tuned into it. You're programmed to notice that. It's in the game. It's part of your hidden memory. So you are triggered throughout your game to remember who you are and what your role is and what you're here to learn or accomplish or whatever it is. And so that is definitely something that I have noticed through my awakening, is like, oh my God, and it's trippy because it is like we are all these different avatars, like this one. I'm not very familiar with video games, but I've seen, I've got son-in-laws that play them. So I've definitely sat there, and I'm grandkids too. So I've definitely sat there and seen them played, and they choose their avatar, and then they can choose their weapons and stuff like that. But I think like certain avatars are playing like a different thing depending on their weapons. So kind of similar how we are. And so you are the one who is gathering your weapons, and healing your stuff can give you more weapons because you are not, it's like you're not as fragile. Although yesterday I felt so fragile because I still have to finish talking about yesterday. Yesterday was hellacious. It was one of the hardest days I think I've been through in a long, long fucking time. Like, the attack on my psyche was astronomical, man. And it started in the middle of the night. And it was like, some irritant, and then they'll just start feeding that, and they'll just start building it and building it. They'll just keep telling you and telling you and telling you and get you to notice it and think about it and focus on it. And then they'll just keep building it up and building it up until you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm so irritated. And so then you're, feeling irritated about something. And then, whatever it was, I watched something, and then I was feeling super emotional. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then this headache. Today I've actually, because this is like day 4 of this fucking headache. And today I did take some of that migraine. It's like the dollar store kind, but it's like caffeine, aspirin, and Tylenol. And I don't like to take any chemicals, especially during this time where there's science experimenting on us. But I feel desperate. Yesterday I even got some edibles and tried that. And the only thing is that even if it makes it go away, it's just for like a second. Like, and if you're smoking it to try it, then it is like, oh my gosh, you start feeling, dizzy and stuff. And I don't like that feeling. I just like, and last night even, this nerve shooting thing is weirder. I don't even know what the fuck, where I felt like, man, are lasers about to start coming out my fingers? It was like electrical shooting out my fingers. It was so painful. I was like, oh my God, if I wasn't so fucking tired and had such a bad headache, I'd sit up and turn on the lights and start trying to move things from across the room. It was like, I was feeling like, what the hell is going on? But okay, so I'm going through this day and I'm under attack, and I'm super like feeling just really irritable, and it just is constant in my head of just being negative, 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 and I'm just feeling down, 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 and I'm thinking, man, I haven't felt like this since that day when I felt that doom. And then I said something to my neighbor, and I said, I feel like somebody around me wants to kill themselves. And she asked me a couple questions, I don't remember what I said. It's like I can just feel it. I don't know. It's like I can hear it. And and she didn't say anything. But it was like a few months later that my daughter told me it was her and that she was about to go do it. And I texted her, and that's what stopped her. It's gonna make me cry. Because You never know. I saw somebody else say something like that. Like they were told to go say something to some stranger and they did. And that person started crying and said that they were about to go do themselves in until they said this thing, whatever it was. I can't remember. It was somebody like in a store. Because I've seen quite a few people now, like their internal voice, that they're really, and the internal voice is really super loud once you start listening. And that is, a lot more people are focused on it, but so many people still can't hear it. But so, anyways, it was that same kind of feeling of this doom. And, because of her own embarrassment of, how she felt. And this is the thing is people don't realize how embarrassed these people are about to feel who haven't been able to see. It's going to be such extreme humiliation. It's going to take a strong sense of character to get through this. It's going to be very challenging and very humbling. And humbling yourself is hard, 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 hard. People, we have not been trained. We've been trained to divide and conquer, to be always one-upping somebody. We have not been trained to humble ourselves. It's very uncomfortable. And that is part of the challenge. That's part of the purpose, you know? So, anyways, I was feeling this horrible sense of doom, and I had to go out and do all this stuff, and my head was just pounding. And we had to go get all this stuff, go to the school, which the school, oh my gosh, the school was really cute. Only had 500 kids in the high school, which I thought, oh my God, that's so nice. Especially where I went to high school, it was like 2,500 kids. It's like, man, 500, you actually would feel like that community. Like you could really feel it. Like when you're walking down the halls, guaranteed you're going to see somebody you know. So, anyways, and it's outdoors. Movement through the halls are all outdoors, and it's right with the mountains right next to it. It is really, really pretty. I was like, oh my God, what a fucking, these kids don't even know how lucky they are to get this experience. Like, this is such a small experience, not very many kids get this, like inner city kids, like, oh my gosh, what they have to experience for education. And then it's like, man, these kids, and the guy was like, every single kid gets free breakfast, free lunch, and free snack or something to take home. So every single kid, which, I'm sure this is really, it's rural. And so I'm sure it's highly poverty. And especially because he knew the neighborhoods out where I live. And I didn't even think about him, and he asked which one. And I know the other one is got a lot of poverty in it. Like mine is more expensive than that one. It's because the people out here say it's because the HOA was dissolved for that one. So then it was like all you heyday. And then with all the drug addicts and stuff out here. But then, and all the vacation homes that they just go squat in and just rack up and stuff. But then, my neighborhood is still has the HOA, and so they won't say it. But to me, the HOA doesn't do shit. Doesn't protect. No, no. I went on that board. I'm anti the HOA. I haven't paid my thing, and I know it's going to dissolve. I mean, it's going to show its crimes. Like, it's some bullshit, especially what's going on with this developers and stuff. And the more and more I keep seeing about all the things I was saying about the developers and the real estate and all that, I keep seeing everything I say, everything they point out to me, everything that they make me see. And then they'll show this whole thing in my head where to me, it's just like, they show me, it's like, oh my God, because they'll show me, I don't know how to explain it if you don't experience it, but you just know it. So that's why I can talk about things. It's like, look, I'm telling you, I'm telling you. And then they'll just start bringing me all of this information, talking about it. And I don't know why that they do it that way, or if it's something about building trust or something. I'm not really sure. This your relationship with your guidance is like your relationship with yourself. And this was something that was really trippy last night too. I'll still get back to the other part because I'm still not done with that. But this was really trippy last night because you know how I've been saying about that when I laid down, it was like, I don't know, a few nights ago, where all of a sudden I got this whole experience where it was like I separated from my body, but I was still inside of it. And I had this whole concept of me being this little light inside, even though the light, it turns on and radiates an area of, it's bigger than the body can hold. You can only put a little tiny bit of it in there. So it's tiny inside this avatar, which always, ever since I was a kid, because I always had that concept about the perception of giant and small. It all depends on what you are, is if something is giant or small. And that was something always that was, something that they always were showing to me or whatever. Forgot I got this cup of tea. I've been drinking tea all night. I swear I've been up all fucking night. So then, when I was laying there and they gave me that thing, all of a sudden, if I tuned into my body, I felt like it was this giant that was protecting this me inside. But there was a definite separation. There was a definite distinct difference between me and what was containing me. And you go micro macro about this containment and their way they move. It's all about this consciousness and containing and controlling. Everything is about energy. And they do not want free energy. They don't want us to be free, and they don't want anything about energy being free. And they're going to do whatever it takes that they think to kill everything so that they can make it into, just a dystopian Armageddon, a horrible future where we're just dependent on them. Everything is dead on this planet except the slaves that they keep alive, and then they get people to be so cut off from their soul that they're scared to die, and they'll do whatever, anything, I need a kidney, I'm going to go kill that guy and take his, it's like, and that has been shown over, I mean, even Selena, like, you look into that stuff, it's like, oh my Lord, that girl that disappeared that same weekend in Bill Murray's hotel, who's his good friends with her, who when found just so happened to be missing one of those things the same fucking weekend that she was in there getting her new one. But her friend gave it to her, so don't worry about that. And so this, what people will do to stay alive, that's going to hurt your soul. Your soul wants to go home. Your soul is connected out, and so this kind of leads into the experience last night. It has to do with that, but leading into that, so I was having this horrible time of this just dread and doom. Like, I can't even tell you how heavy it felt. And this started happening like, I think 2 weeks ago or something, and I hadn't said anything about it because I thought, man, I see so many weird things. Like, I just, but I was paying attention. And I thought, okay, if this continues, I'll say something. And since it's continued, I'm going to say something because of all this other stuff that is happening and what I'm questioning now. And so a couple weeks ago, I think it was, maybe a week and a half, I don't know, it was recent, where I went in to go pee and I couldn't feel anything. Like usually, you can feel like where you feel full, like I gotta go pee. And then you go in and start peeing, and you can feel inside of you the pressure. You can feel pushing, you can feel the whole thing. Like there's a whole process you become aware of inside your body when it happens. And so whatever, a week and a half or something ago, when I went to sit down, there was no feeling. Just, water coming out of me stopped. And then I was like, okay, that is weird. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'm just, I don't know. I couldn't even understand it. And so then I just started paying attention. It's like, okay, so I can't feel inside of my body somehow. Like something, it messes, some of these things mess with my head where I start feeling like, am I leaving this reality or something? Is this my body letting go? And especially yesterday, what I was going through, where this horrible sense of dread where I was like, man, is the rapture this whole thing where people are talking about this splitting of the realities, like so many people are talking about that right now. And the whole thing with the storms in California and this New Year's Eve situation and there's how we're in two different realities that are very different. And some of the people who were saying, that the people who are having no problems in California, they're having no storm or anything like that, they're the ones who are going ahead. They're the ones who are moving forward. And I was like, I don't know. Because the storms would be the trauma that's waking the people up, because it's the nightmares that wake people up, right? So wouldn't it be that the people who are going through the worst traumas right now are the ones awakening? And that didn't really make sense to me. And so it's been very confusing to me. And so it's been very tiptoey kind of to me, even when I talk to people, because it's kind of like that thing. Do I really want to hear this? I don't know. And so far, it's like, oh, I don't know. It's just stressed me out more, man. So I was, hold on just a sec. So, I'm the only person that anybody that I've even talked to that I've asked, I'm the only person who had New Year's Eve on Sunday night, which weirds me out so much. It's like we're experiencing nights, like it's the same night that we're all experiencing or something, but we're in different, like, I don't understand, like, how this is happening. And I know I'm not crazy because there's so many other people who had the same experience as me, and how I purposely had been looking at the calendar, not purposely because I thought the calendar was going to change. I don't know. It was like obsessively for like a week or, um, it was like the week before Christmas, it kind of started where I kept going in and looking at the calendar. And it would be like for a date for this or a date for that. It just kept being like I had to keep going in and looking at the calendar to see dates for some reason. And so I was noticing, and maybe I was looking for deliveries. I have no idea, but I was noticing something about the holidays and how Sunday was Christmas. And so Saturday was Christmas Eve, Sunday was Christmas, and then Monday was a or a national holiday in honor of Christmas, because usually you get a paid holiday, and so they just make it either the day before or either Friday or Monday. And I think it was a few years back or something, because even on this past Monday, on Martin Luther King Day, I was thinking, like, this is weird, because I swear to God that used to be the 18th. And then all of a sudden they switched it to a Monday to make it more convenient, because it always falls on a Monday instead of the actual day. And I was like, that's just weird. I don't know. So anyways, it's all about that convenience, I guess. So when I was noticing the Christmas one, then the next week, or then it was New Year's Eve. And so I was looking at that, and the 31st was on a Sunday. And I can't, even when I went in and looked at the calendar, I swear to God, it said what it was. The 26th was Christmas Eve, or the 24th was Christmas Eve on Saturday, and then all of that. The 31st was a Sunday. I know it was a Sunday because I looked at that fucking thing, and I didn't go through each day and see, like, is there a number missing or something? Is there a new one? Is there an added one or something? I just kept noticing because it was by itself. And when I'm looking at, that was one thing I kept looking at, how far it was till my payday. And so then I noticed what days are the weekend and stuff. And so I was noticing that the 31st was Sunday, because it was the last one of December. It didn't end with a clean block. It started a new one and it only had one day. And I kept seeing that and seeing that and seeing that every time I looked. And so then the January started on the 1st, on Monday. And then when you go in and you talk to people, they're like, no, the first was Sunday. Their first was Sunday. And when you go in and you look at the calendar, it has switched. It's like, how did the calendar say one thing and now it says another thing? I, I don't know. But I mean, I'm one of only, there's tons of people who saw it or realized it. And it seems that every person that is said is because they had some sort of reference. And that is also where I'm like, okay, so maybe it's just like some of us noticed this change or something and other ones didn't. But then you get these people who all get on this reality splitting whole thing where we're going in different things. But then when I go and talk to every fucking person in my fucking world, in my orbit that I come in contact with, every single one is from this other thing. So it's like, okay, so am I splitting apart from every single person I know? I'm just going by myself out somewhere else or something? Like, what in the hell? And how was another thing about this splitting. I can't remember another thing though where people keep saying about this splitting reality. There's another reference to that they're saying because there's a lot of that talk. And it seems like a lot of the people, want to, like they hate this whole other group of people or something, or just think they're all stupid or something. But then it's like some of them think it's the ones not having a storm. And I don't know. It's all so confusing. But anyways, so I had that as being, playing out in my head too. And so then I'm, having this whole thing where I can't feel inside my body when I go pee. I'm having this horrible, horrible headache. Then I started getting up and it started feeling like there was like air or something inside of my head. Like it feels like this like cloud or something. And then I felt like it was kind of like this energy. I think it was like this attacking kind of just like kind of like, like a bear or something, very attacking. And it felt very contained, like it was like had me up against a corner or something. And I was like, it's doom and dread. And then I was like, man, is this an energy that someone else has brought in here? Is this energy I'm picking up from the collective? Is this just an overall thing? Is this the spiritual demon attack that people keep talking about? Like, what the fuck is going on? Is this I am leaving this reality because I'm no longer a part of it? Is my body detaching from it? Am I disappearing? Like, what is happening? And then with my eyes, and then even when I would get up and start trying to walk, it was like this, my equilibrium was off or something. Like it felt like the ground was shifting under my feet. And I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. I don't even know how to. I've never had any experience like this. And so then I went on, because I've been up all fucking night, I went on TikTok to see, like, are other people having this happen? Because I felt so, I was feeling so angry and feeling like, I'm not even shitting you. Inside of myself, I was standing out on a ledge, screaming at my guides and stuff, like, get me the fuck out of here. Like, there's nothing about this worth it. Like, I want out. Like, fuck this shit. Like, I was so fucking overwhelmed. I couldn't even believe it. And I couldn't think. Like, I still feel super, super foggy and I can't see very good. And this foggy, heavy feeling and this band pressure in my head, it is so uncomfortable. And then this whole like feeling like this detaching kind of. One thing I kept saying too is like, I keep telling them, you guys told me I could take Stella with me. Like whatever y'all are doing, you told me you could take, I was taking Stella because of that time when they pulled me into that, like it felt like a tornado, but you weren't really moving, but you could feel everything moving. And then I could tell, like I could come out anywhere, but where they took me out was out in space. But it was when I was in there, and it was like I was sucked in real quick. And when I was in there, I said to them, can I take Stella? And they said, yeah. And I've carried that with me the whole time, but I don't know. I don't know if Stella's trying to pass, and she's having a really hard time right now, super, super hard. And, I just keep thanking her and thanking her for being here with me. Like, it gets me so emotional too. Like, yeah, that was another thing yesterday. I was kicking my ass, man. She was having such a bad day. I think that's what got me started crying in the beginning of the day was, she was having such a bad day. It was so, oh my God, it was so hard. And, that is something that is such a challenge for me is, I don't know. I'd never experienced anything so painful. It was when Lucy died. And I'm so scared of experiencing that again. Like, oh my God, I'm so scared of it. And people just don't realize when it's your companion, your every day, every moment, glued to your hip companion for 6 fucking years, where it's almost just primarily been you and them. It is like that. Like, I mean, I talk to her all day long. And this is one thing too, is with telepathy and stuff. And so yesterday, and I was yelling and screaming at my guides and stuff. And something that I really noticed when I went on and was listening to what people have been talking about is that one thing is okay, so we have a group of people that have no narrative inside. They're completely cut off from their inner narrative or inner dialogue. And to me, it's kind of wait and see. Some people think they're NPCs or whatever. They're just pretend people. I don't think anything can be alive that doesn't have. I think you have to have consciousness to exist in an incarnation, personally. But, and I think if you even go listen to Dolores Cannon, I swear to God, I just heard somebody share a clip where she was talking about if dogs can become human or something like that. And she was talking about like there's different levels of consciousness. I'm pretty sure. But anyways, I just know that. Like, I mean, but you can go in and listen to someone explain it more. But anyways, I just know that. And so, to me, that all these people, it's the consciousness, and it's how affected they are by what has been going on here. And it's, the chemicals, it's the, I mean, it is the whole way that they do things. Like right now, what trips me out is the young people and how they have them so into a device that they have a hard time in real life. They're very dependent on the technological distraction of life or something. And see, they don't have any reference. And this is the thing I was going to say too, that I was emotional about yesterday, because when we were driving and I was looking at the sky, and it was so fake and so artificial, and this weird fucking lighting and this all of it. And then we got our stuff and started turning and going back. And I was just looking at it from another perspective now, because it looked different going one way than coming the other way. And when I was looking at it, I was like, it's a sad thing is that kids nowadays growing up, they don't know this isn't what the sky looks like. They have no idea. Like, they did everything so slowly. They sneak it in. That's what is so disturbing, and how they're putting it in movies. So in the future, it would just be that was just the way it was. In the future story, they had to protect the people because of, it's all going to be, the nature is out to get you. And so as long as you're cut off from your soul, you'll believe that dialogue. You have to go inside to begin to question things so that you can break away from the created dialogue that they keep you controlled with, So anyways, the let me think what I was saying about that. Because I was like a whole bunch of things in my head. Just a second. So I just keep hearing inner dialogue, inner dialogue, inner dialogue. So, okay, see if I can get myself back on track. I always feel like I got to go back a couple steps to get back. Especially when it like crashes in where it's like I'm going and then all of a sudden it's like all these things come in from a different direction, and it's, I don't know if it's like distracting or it's just like everything hits at once. I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden it's like you just lose it. You just lose where you were going or something. So, but there's so many things I wanted to say. So, oh yeah, okay, on the inner dialogue. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was okay. So on the inner dialogue, so you have some people who don't have any, and they just, I don't know, that trips me out because always that is where, ever since I was little, I thought that is how we all lived. I thought we all had someone in there telling us what to do, talking to us, like guiding us through life, being there for us and talking us through things. I thought we all lived like that. I had no idea that people didn't. But it made so much sense when I realized that is the way people were. Like, because I couldn't understand for all those decades the way people were. It's like, what is going on with these people? This is so strange. I can't even tell you how, like, is to me, this awakening is like all of a sudden realizing that you're in the insane asylum, but you're the only sane one in it. Everybody else is the crazy motherfuckers. But so it's very, flips your world upside down. But let me get a drink real quick, even though it's getting cold. It is cold. But anyways, so then you have these people. What I noticed is that the inner dialogue is outside of them. It's God. It's somebody outside of them in control. And they go to God, ask God, God, is it okay? God, do you say yes or no? God spoke to me last night. God said this and all that kind of stuff. So it's very like God. And it's always this God outside of them. And then you have people like me who are aware of the inner dialogue and the connection that you have to this spiritual world that is guiding you. And to me, it's the people who are like me have the same kind of thing of like, I thought y'all all had this. Like, this is so weird. Y'all don't have that. And that's where you start really thinking, like, how does this work like this then? Why do some of us have this and some of us don't? And I would think it's because it's everyone's opportunity to work on that connection. And then some of us do, because if we do, it's so we can teach others, because so they can try and figure out how to connect to themselves. Because like last night when I was laying there, this was funny too. It was kind of like cute, really, because it kind of was like a movie or something. So I was laying in bed and I'd had this horrible day all day. I had this horrible headache, and I laid down, and it was really early too. I think it was like 6:45 or something. My head was just pounding. Like I had been wanting to lay down, I think since like 2. And so I laid down and I crawled into my little ball. And as soon as that separation happened, and all day long, because all day I had been yelling at my guides. I'm not even kidding you, like screaming and yelling, get me the fuck out of here. Like, I'm ready to go. Get me the fuck out. Like, this is too much. I was like, y'all don't understand how hard this is. That's what I kept telling them. Like, y'all just don't understand how hard this is. Like, it's hard in another level than you can even comprehend if you are not experiencing it. And I know, we're going through that experience because we're all putting that out to all of our guides, even if people don't understand. I know there's a lot of people who do understand, because they even have said, it's like I go into meetings with my guise, like I'm reporting back or something, because it does feel like that on some sense when I'm talking to them, like I'm reporting back, like I'm cluing them in, like I'm filling them in. And so I'd had this, really tumultuous relationship all yesterday, and feeling just emotionally overwhelmed, drained, just physically, like I felt like a balloon that had been overly blown up and then let all the air out, just, stretched out and empty. And then having this disconnect even from my body. And then when I would stand up, feeling like I was in some sort of a fog. And then there was several things like this electrical thing shooting out my fingers. And there's some other weird experiences where like I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm leaving my body. And maybe this is the rapture or something. And I kept reminding him, don't forget, y'all said I was taking Stella, you better get her over here. And, they said, oh, don't worry, you'll meet again. Certain souls, you can just keep on going back to each other. And so, anyways, I was, so when I laid down, I was feeling all of these things. And so I crawled into my little ball, and right away, since I have this awareness now of the separation, I can go right to that, and I could, have the awareness of my body and the awareness of my spirit. And so it was kind of like they were having like this bonding moment. It was so cute that it really gave me the perspective of this micro macro kind of thing, and the vehicle, and how the higher self is like they're driving us, like we're people. They're always like God out there. To me, it is your more advanced self. It's your higher self. It's your self that's ahead of where you are. It's like it's projecting itself backwards to understand. And so it is, but it is there in communication with you, to give you guidance and stuff. Even though last night, all day yesterday, I was just telling them, just shut the fuck up, just shut the fuck up, get the fuck out of my head, just leave me the fuck alone. I was in a mood. I was like, there's no way I'm up to recording. I didn't do any recording at all yesterday. I was like, I can't even barely function. And I was like, this is so strange. And when I went on and I saw, all these different people talking about something with the energy, something with the astrology, something with the spiritual attack, and all of that, we shifted. There's some sort of shift in that a lot of us could have felt it in this and this. And so it was like all of these things. And I was like, okay, so this is happening for a lot of people are feeling this, and who knows on what degree and stuff. We're all in our own our own personal bubble, really, to what degree something is it's an individual thing. And it's so trippy is when you start really seeing it in the programming. Like, man, when I watch shows like she turned on this show, and I had wanted to watch it but now it's on Netflix, and I had wanted to watch it a while ago, but I never had because I didn't have TV. And it's called Hospital Amsterdam or something like that. And it had some people in it I like and stuff, and it kind of reminded me of like Grey's Anatomy or something like that. But I was just like, all of the training, the programming, I was like, oh, that's all I could see in this new stuff. It's like, oh my God, the way they tell people how to think and the way it works and how people do it. It's like, oh, it's just so like, oh my God. And the way that people don't just do it, they want to. They want to be, and it's all this, oh man, that they tell you how to see the world. They form who's the good person and who's the bad person in all the way they want you to see the world. That's the good person. And that's why we have all these people, that don't, because all the ones that don't see every single one that I know do not watch the news, and they don't go on to anything social media that is telling anything about what's going on in the world. And they think I'm weird because that's what the stuff I want to know. And, they don't. They don't want to know any of it. And yesterday, even this was, and this was right with it too. This was trippy too, because I'm sure it's going to be the same for some of y'all, because this was weird. So it's already going in this one direction, right? And then I think it was one of the times while I was up in the middle of the night, I had seen this young girl who had this little baby, and she was talking about these things and the pressure that they put on her to do hers on her baby, and that she finally gave in and did, and then her baby was so sick and almost died. And then when she was looking into stuff, that she saw like all of these horrible stories, or people like really horrible stuff, like where a person's kid, this person had video of their 2-year-old singing and dancing and doing all that stuff, went in for their 2 year and came out and never spoke again until 7 years, I think, said another word. But it was after so much treatment with homeopathic. And I don't know what all, but they said that they had extreme amounts of mercury and ammonia in their brain. And that was the reason why they couldn't talk and stuff like that. The one lady who was telling the story originally, hers was having seizures, all sorts of stuff. No doctor would put it together with that. And anyways, this one girl was saying, do your research. Don't just do something because they tell you to. And so, my daughter having that new baby, and all of this stuff coming out about this stuff is, I mean, to me as a grandma, is like, this is just so weird. Like, fuck, man, this is weird. And so, I know her partner has got more concerns about that. So I thought maybe she had kind of was questioning things more, maybe taking things a little more proactive, you know. But, the response was, how dare you? You don't respect my boundaries ever. I don't want to hear your nonsense. Quit sending me your bullshit propaganda. And to me, I was just like, okay, let's just go back to not talking. Like the last time we talked, it was, I needed to do this or that because that is what made sense. Don't listen to your guides. Like, what are you talking about? Sitting here living your life like you're waiting for something to happen, and you need to go and you need to do this and you need to do that and blah blah blah. And then when I say that that's telling me what to do, then get mad at me. Like, how dare, why do you got to be so sensitive? I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Like, everything always twists in these weird ways. And so already that conversation was the last one, and we hadn't been talking, but she had sent me a few videos. But in this one, I was like, okay, well, we don't need to talk. And then she sent back a video, like, very offended that I even said that. Then said something else, and then said, I do want to talk to you. And I haven't said anything back because she keeps telling me, like, even in one of her responses back, that I need to respect her boundaries. It's like, dude, every fucking thing that comes out of my mouth is somehow disrespecting your boundaries. Like, what? So should I just sit there like a fucking dummy and, just sit there? And then you talk, say whatever you want. I'll sit there and whatever you say goes. Like, don't have any. I was like, what kind of relationship is that? So I haven't said anything back, which I'm sure, to me, I'm just trusting the universe. They'll tell her, they'll do the work, they'll get her to see clearly, because it's like, I don't want to argue about this stuff, I mean, and then plus it's very painful to me. It's like, all this stuff going on. Like, how many babies are, like, the extreme amount right now that are being buried is extreme. And it's all on purpose. And purposely, like what's going on right now in China, the big drop. And to me, when I saw this video, I was like, this is globalists bragging, telling each other, hey, we're ahead of you. Because they came out and said about the huge decline. The first time ever they've had a decline in their population. There's so many people dying, and there's such a decrease in births. Like, kind of like y'all did that on purpose. And now you're bragging to the other countries, like, look how good we're doing. We're beating y'all and all. You know, it's all a game to them. You know, we're the we're the player, we're the pieces that they move around until you stand up and see. It's just so crazy because you got to run off the board yourself and nobody else. They just keep on playing the game. It's a blindly. But then even so many of these people who are still like, you know, don't worry about a thing. Jesus is coming. And then you got it's the Grand Rising. That's the one I was trying to say the other day. It's become like a new Grand Rising, Grand Rising, Grand Rising. It's like, man, everything just becomes like a template. Where's the fucking individuality in this goddamn process, man? And so but the people who are, because I saw somebody saying something about, because now they have some kind of spiritual psychosis that is these people who just want to focus on love and light and don't want to see reality. And so that's a whole thing now that is being talked about. It's like, oh, that's what I've been saying. Like, it makes no sense. I'm glad that's where they keep showing me. Things keep going in the direction that they show me. But so the people who are on this, like, that there's a God over them, that still is like a separation in your relationship. Because when you start seeing it's your higher self, it's you yourself. It's your future. It's you, your advanced self. Just like, you know, being born, then the Kelly that was growing up, there was always this Kelly that was down the road that always was that one. And who knows, in all of reality, if that's not the one who was the one cheering her on to keep going, you know? Which I would put it out there that is probably in the very beginning. It is your higher, more advanced self that is telling you which way to go, what to do, how to get there. So it's always your advanced self that's telling you. And then you have, like, it's a connection. And I've seen, like, that other woman who was talking where all of a sudden she said she keeps turning into other people, which I had said, I don't know, I think a couple of summers ago, where I started noticing that, like, where I would start doing some and I didn't know how to do it. And it was almost like I turned in, where I can only think of it as like some sort of Amish man or some sort of man of what is that? I don't want to say primitive, because it's more like cowboys, more like the settlers or something, more like men who had to actually, you know, cut down the tree and make the wood, build the houses, like those kind. Where, like, I had a reference, like I would turn, it was like I felt like I would turn into that, and I would all of a sudden know this stuff, like I would know things. And then it was almost like my hands weren't my hands. It was trippy. And that is where I was like, man, I don't know if I'm all of a sudden pulling in a past life. I don't know if I'm pulling in another spirit that is showing me. Like, I don't know what some of this stuff is. I just know I've gone through these kinds of things. And so as the woman was talking about that, but she didn't believe in past lives. But I 100% do. And I 100% believe that that is it's the library of knowledge. Like, you don't have to go and look up things and stuff. They'll tell you and they'll show you. And I swear to God, somebody will step in and do it for you. Like, I don't know how it all works. I just know I've had these crazy, crazy experiences. And I just saw this one tarot reader too, and she was just said, you know how there's crazy people out there and stuff? They're not really crazy, because she said there's this woman who's outside all the time. She's always out there yelling and talking, and she's, you know, the crazy person on the corner. And I pulled up at the light, and she came over to my car where my dog is. And she said, I'm a dog whisperer. And she said that she went over and started petting the dog. And then she went over to the woman and she said, go get him a patty with no bun from Whataburger. And she said it was so strange because she always goes and gets her dog a patty from with no bun from 2 stores down at the Sonic. And she said she always does, and that woman wouldn't know that. And so she's like, you know, I mean, I know that crazy people aren't crazy, that they're just confused because they're told their reality isn't real, but it is their reality. And no matter what connection they have to what in reality, it's their experience. I just saw this was somebody interviewing this homeless guy, and he kept saying rest in peace. So I don't know if he died. I would imagine. So this guy, somehow, if he interviewed him a lot or something, but it was I don't know, black guy about 50 years old maybe, and he was kind of dirty, but it was still, you know, well, I mean, his hair wasn't like hanging down in mats. What I've seen, some of this stuff is like crazy. Some of these haircut things I've seen, like if you go in and see like some of these homeless people coming in, they have to like a lasso opso that's never been taken care of. Their hair is matted and they have to get it cut down so far. But so and his beard wasn't crazy or anything, so he didn't look, but his clothes down look dirty and he probably smelled bad. But he said, you know, he goes in and tries to get jobs, but if you don't have a phone and they say, okay, we'll call you, they don't want anything to do with you because you come in and you're smelly, you don't look kempt, or you look unkempt. And so he's like, nobody and it's clear when you're talking to them, they're just very dismissive of you. And then you go out on the streets, you know, and you can't find a job, and then you have people walking by you calling you a bum, that, you know, why don't you go get a job, you old bum? And he said that they don't even see me as a human. And he starts crying and stuff, and I was just like, you know, people have to really understand that is an experience. That guy's coming in to experience, you know, I mean, how can the universe understand that if nobody's willing to experience it? How would we understand it? And so it's part of the understanding, you know, no matter how dark some of this stuff is and how sad and how decrepit some is, it's all for the expansion of the universe, of its understanding of all life, of all things, of all. And that's why there is no judgment, because everything has to exist to have everything else. So it all has to work together, but it's all a creation. And so, anyways, the people have got to start being respectful. You know, just because somebody is experiencing poverty, it doesn't make them less than. You know, I mean, in some cases, they're quite a warrior because they're experiencing something that most people fear. And they are the experiencers to show us what it is like, and whatever they choose to do with it is what they share with the universe. You know, if they, you know, become drug addicts and, you know, fall apart, or they become, you know, somebody who works hard and brings people together and does something good in the world, like this, everything in between. And so everything is an opportunity for you to discover who you are, to share that with the universe in the knowledge of all things. And so every experience is valid. And so every experience is important. And it's, you know, it's kind of like a plight against God to go against an experiencer like that, because they are bringing just as important things as you are. And so, but that is part of the division and the divide off of your spiritual sense, because it really was so incredible to be able to lay there and have this this awareness of this conversation between my spirit and my body, because it was different than just talking to your higher self or something. But there is so much knowledge out there that comes through you that I can't say that that is all comes from inside of my own soul, that is every single thing is imprinted or experienced through my soul. I would think it is the connection to the universe, where you allow other things to come through you so you can see more than what you can see in your life experience that you are presently in, if you get what I'm saying. So anyways, there is, to me, um, this whole concept with the higher self, and that it probably was, is probably a few steps ahead of us always, that is cheering us to bring us forward, and it probably is a part of our inner dialogue. And maybe that is where people get confused between their own thoughts and stuff, because there is a voice that is like yours, but you're still conversing with it. It's still a conversation. It's not just a set, get up, walk, go to the bathroom. It's not like that. It's like there's constant conversation happening. And then, to me, it starts being like this whole thing of like, they tell me things to prepare me, to show me. That's why it starts being like, oh, so it's kind of like weapons in the game, and prepping you and getting you ready so you see and understand. And so it is, and I know it all has some significance in this ascension kind of experience. And I don't know if this ascension is this, am I releasing this physical body somehow? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm about to split off. I don't know if I'm leaving this place. There's so many things I just don't understand about this experience. I think we're all, and to me, what they're always telling me, like, there's a reason for that. Like, we have to not know all things. We have to have that element of surprise. There's this one guy that I'm conversing with, and he's like, well, I have this and this and this, I'm all prepared. And there's so many people, and they'll start talking to me, and I never know what level they are. But a lot of people are just, like, I don't even know if I've talked to anyone, honestly, that I would say is at my level. Like, and it's hard. And even when I even tell people, they don't understand what I'm saying. When you are perceiving and seeing the world in such a different way that everybody else, it's just so unsettling. And it's so isolating, especially when you don't have any reference or anything to ground to talk to anyone who's seen what you see. And so it's hard to keep grounded. It's hard to stay in this world where I'm always feeling like I'm very disconnected from this place. Like, it's an easy thing for me to let go of. Yesterday, I really felt like I was processing that a lot. Like, even with my daughter saying that, and just being like, you know what? It really is. You have to let go of all things. And you have to see, like, it's those things that bind you, that hold you back from going further. It is part of the process, part of the development. And there has to be a point of release. But when you're always feeling like there's something that has to be worked out, something that they need to understand or whatever, but you gotta, to me, it seems that you gotta let go of that stuff. You got to trust too, just like when I was yesterday yelling at him, and I was like, you said Stella could come with me, because I really thought I was leaving. I felt like I was leaving. I felt like I was sucking right out of my body. It was the weirdest thing. And then they told me, oh, well, don't worry, you always will find each other. You'll be back together. I was like, oh, it's a little different than what you said the last time. So I don't know what is gonna happen. the stuff, what I see, and all of the, the prophets out there now, that, and just knowing what the doomsday map is, like, no matter what, until we get to that map. And when I went on and I was studying it yesterday, when I look at the one, there's no way that this place where I'm at would be there anymore. It isn't on that map. I don't know what map. I was seeing that other girl, because she had a whole bunch of maps. And so, and it looked like this one little cove, but I don't know. And I don't know how fast it's going to go or any of that stuff. That one guy who was talking to me, he was all prepared and stuff. And, sometimes some of the stuff I say to people, it's like oh, I hadn't even thought about that. I hadn't thought, I was like, I'm always saying things that people hadn't thought of. And I know that that's for a reason, but it's just, it'd be nice to talk to somebody and be like, yeah, you know what, blah, But anyways, I do get in some of those conversations, but they're really small, like on TikTok and stuff in comments, but it'll be about one thing. And that is usually what that one thing is, what the person is very focused on. They don't even know all the other things. I swear to God, like there's this girl who we would always be talking about the sky stuff. She's so focused on that, and she doesn't believe in anything else. Like, it was tripping me out, because the other day she was live and I was going through the thing and I saw her for a second and she was reading her things and she said, yeah, I don't believe in the Mandela effect. And even when I have commented some stuff on her videos, because we used to talk all the time, and I've made some comments on her videos, and she's just like, what? Like, I'm telling you, the people wake up, the first thing that jumps out at them, they just focus on it, like hyper focus on it. Like, she videos all day long about that, talks about it, she digs into it, but she knows nothing else about anything else. And so there's a lot of that. And like I said, I've made it my business to know, well, I don't need to know every single thing, but I need to have a big, more of the field that you can see, how big is your perspective? How much do you see? And, even to my daughter yesterday, it's like, one of the comments on One P is like, what in the world? That you don't even feel more motivated to do more research with all of this stuff going on, to not even feel like, oh, maybe I should look into it, just do a little research. It's like, it's weird. I don't understand this consciousness being so, and then constantly telling me I'm so crazy. Climate change is real. Like, transgender, that's a good thing. And oh my Lord, all this shit. And then you watch the programming and how their programming tells. It's like, oh my Lord. So, and it's in all of the programs. So, they don't need to watch the news. They just need the programming to tell them how to think and to drop keywords, so that when keywords are dropped, that they have a reference. So it's very manipulated and controlled. Everything about humanity and humans and mankind is very manipulated and controlled. But, everything is on so many levels. So, to me, no matter what, the doomsday map is going to happen. Like, that's the future. And I told that guy, I said, if you have a vision, because he goes, like, he's going through his whole thing and he wants to survive and all that stuff. I said, well, then you will. Because if that's what you're seeing, and that is what your guides are telling you, prepare, notice this, and all of that, then that is the survivors. That's the people, which I see them all the time, that do not see anything. They do not see any future past this year. They say, I don't see the future. I don't see anything going past this year. I don't know what's going on, but I can't see past it. It's like, because they're going to be leaving. To me, it's you have the vision or you don't. You have the vision of the future. And, it remains to be seen with my kids, because I don't know how much of the vision is that I'm telling them. And I don't know if this is going to split out and that they're going to go experience this dystopian future for a while, because that was another thing that I had heard on this, where somebody was talking. It was weird because they were referring it to like these waves of people who will be leaving, exiting this dimensional earth and moving into the new earth, which goes into this concept of the rapture, being the awakened ones would go into the next phase of this game or whatever. So then the awakened ones would rapture out, go into the next phase, the new earth, and start, doing that. So, I don't even know what that would look like. And that is one of the things where it's like, I don't know, it's a wait and see. But then the ones who are left behind, that there's going to be like 2 more waves that will go. So the people who are left behind, they'll go through a bunch of trauma and stuff. And then if they wake up, then they will then too go. And then the same thing with the next group. The whole thing to me is it's already set. Like people keep saying like you can change your timeline. You can change this. You can, to me, you can't change anything that wasn't already changed. That's going to change because it's always going to change. It was always part of the design of your awakening. It was always going to be that way. It's not like you can control it and change it. Believe me, if we had control over that, there's a lot of shit I would change. There's a lot of stuff I would, we do not have control like people think. That's something that's like fucking just bashing your head up against the wall. It's like it's so pointless. I mean, it's part of my training with my guides is definitely to continually relax into it. Quit trying to control it. You don't have control. You cannot force something to happen. You cannot make something happen. You cannot just change it willy-nilly. It's in motion. You're on the ride. And you can't be on this ride and suddenly jump over and be on that ride. You're on this ride to experience this ride. And all of the aspects of the awakening that you experienced was always the way it was going to run out or play out. It's just how it is. But, it's weird because I see these people who think like God is totally outside and in control. And then you see these other people who believe that they are God and that they control all things. And it's like, it's in between that. It's like you're the avatar and you're the experiencer. You are the rider on the camel. You're the rider on the camel, and your higher self is the one who's telling the camel where to go and what to do, and then it's talking to you to help you through the experience to know what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go and all of that stuff. Like, so there's people who think like they're in control of the camel. It's like, no, someone else is in control of the camel, but it's you. But you have to connect. You're not controlling it just with your earthly desires. This is your spiritual, and part of the ascension is that separation of understanding between spiritual and materialistic and desires and control and all of that stuff. And so, it is part of it's part of the whole thing in the development and stuff. So, I don't know. I don't know how the shift is going to happen. I don't know. To me, how I keep seeing it is like a vibrational thing, and it is all set beforehand. And, just like how there's different people having different experiences in this storm. And so if they were supposed to experience, and I don't know how it is working, where there's people on one block who have sunny, and then you have the other people on the block over who are in the middle of a hurricane. Like, I don't understand how these totally distinct, different realities can be videotaped live and be so different. Like, it's very, very trippy. But to me, I had, they'd shown me all along about these pockets of experience and how groups were going to have certain experiences together. And so to me, it is that those people who are in that experience, that they are, it could be that they are going to leave the game at that time, and the people who are around them, that it is part of their awakening catalyst to get them to start healing and really start looking at things. And everybody's things that they came to look at are all distinct and individual. So, what can be standing out to me may be completely different than what someone else came to experience. And so we can't be thinking, you have to have the same experience to me to be valid. That's why we have to really recognize and understand and acknowledge other people's experiences are just as valid as ours into the universal consciousness. It's necessary. They can't have us all having the same experience. What's the point? We all need to be having these different, it's the facets of a diamond. So all these different experiences to make the experience a whole. And so if some of these people are going to be transitioning out, and then the people who are having just all rainbows and sunshine right now, that they're the ones that are going to experience the earthquake and that. But to me, it is this constant of this shifting of vibration of people leaving and going and stuff. And so, but I still think there's going to be something really horrific. And man, when you go in and you listen to all of those prophetic dreamers and all the people who focus on that, it's scary. I mean, you got people saying for sure Yellowstone's going to go. There's going to be a tsunami. It's going to be this weird thing that's going to hit suddenly over here on the West Coast, and then it's going to boomerang back, swing around to hit over on the East Coast. And then once it does that, it's going to horseshoe around and hit into the Gulf, which vortex I was looking last night. In Alabama, it looks like barely has any. If you look at the doomsday map, Alabama seems like a safe place. So you may be seeing me sooner. You may be seeing me sooner than you would think. So maybe I'll have to have you start sending me pictures of farms that you see that are cute. But anyways, the Alabama is going to be there. But man, the West Coast, like all of Nevada is going to be gone, Utah. And then when you think about the evil stuff that has gone on in some of these places, it makes sense because the earth is washing itself. It's like it's burying the past. It's like it's this layering of ages. And so, this age will go into the history books too, into, the mass of experiences, or however you want to say it. But anyways, Utah, Nevada, Colorado's mostly gone, a huge chunk of Wyoming, a chunk out of Idaho, a chunk out of Montana, Arizona is a lot, part of Texas, all Louisiana. There's barely a corner of Louisiana left. And then the Mississippi's going to go way out up in the middle and going to cross out. So all of that middle Midwest part is going to be a lot smaller. It's kind of like, I don't know, like a peninsula or something like it's. And then, but that whole East Coast is like shaved all the way down. In Florida, it's just like a shaving. But the West Coast, it is just chunk. It's like a huge chunk of it is gone, even all the way down into Mexico, the whole way that Mexico is going to be attached. But there's all of these places that are going to be going under like that, are highly inhabited. So that is going to be, mass people who are going to be leaving. And the weird thing is, too, on this split reality thing, when you have the people who are in major crisis right now, who are losing everything and people are dying and stuff, and so they're going through it, then the people who are all like, no, everything's great. This is so wonderful. We're not going to have a drought anymore and all of that kind of business, that they seem to be more, of the love and life, just focus on what's happy, don't pay attention to anything, which is also part of just how they are keeping people asleep. And so, and man, I cannot, it's weird when you see how people watch shows without seeing what they're seeing. They just watch them, and then the way people eat, it's crazy. I cannot believe how many people, like, because go to fast food and just eat out all the time, and it's all falling apart. That's why, you keep seeing them talking about it. Like, everything is falling apart in all different ways. And so the I'm just so surprised how many people, like, there's just so much grossness out there, like, in all these different things. So, but people have to start seeing it for themselves, and they keep being like one horrible situation after another. It's like all over the place, like stores, everything. I mean, sales associates being assholes, doctors being assholes, restaurant managers being assholes, like all sorts of crazy stuff. To me, it's like, yeah, because it's those people are the ones that are left out there. Like, they're desperate. Like, in some way, they're cut off from their own self or something. Like, they're hateful. And, I mean, I don't know, like, the last to wake up, I don't know. It's based on desperation, but each person has their own thing. So it seems like to me that some of the people who are the most oblivious and desperate, that they're going to be hit really hard with the next thing. So that could be what the people are talking about, these different waves, and in the ascension process. But I think, there'll be a lot of trauma that will go with this one storm. There'll probably be people who will be leaving California right then, who won't even be affected by the earthquake, because they'll be like, they just lost their home, they lost everything, so they got to leave the state and go somewhere else. They'll go inland, and they'll be in a safer zone. And then the people who are all oblivious, they're thinking all sunshines and rainbows, they'll be the ones who'll be affected by the next severe thing, and that'll be a part of their awakening. But the water line is going to move up. There's just no doubt about that. And I think a lot more people are having awareness, because there's so many more people talking about that map now, and so many more people are like, man, I gotta get a boat. That's what I think. Like, I wish I would have been out there just building a boat. I wish I had. That's the things, like, the real skills that we needed to have had nothing to do with the bullshit that they were teaching us. Even teaching us how government worked and stuff, it was all bullshit. Everything that they fucking teach is such fucking bullshit. They need to be teaching us how to take care of ourselves, how to grow our own food, how to, how to survive in the world without them. But they don't want that. They want us completely dependent on them. So they want us to be lost in the other areas. Because, like, man, I wish I would have spent time in wood shop class and learned how to do all of that stuff, and had more tools, and be out there fucking making a boat. Because I think that a boat is going to be what we're all going to fucking need. I think we're going to need boats to just get around. I don't know, until they bring in the other technology, which I don't know how fast everything's going to be. Like, of course, I hope it's going to be fast, just because of the med bed thing. But tomorrow is the day that, and so many people are talking about it. And tomorrow is the day that it's supposed to be, that the whole debt thing is over with. And so they've already said they're dropping out retirements. They're going to stop with Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps. Like, and you don't know which thing is going to be and how fast this is going to go. Like, are they going to drag this out for weeks, months? I mean, the way it's been going, like, they're going to drag this out for months. People having no way to get food, no way to, because there is a whole another thing. This one woman I saw talking about, this elderly person who had been waiting for disability for 2 years, finally got it. And so finally had an income, and didn't have a place to live or anything. And now they have her in some sort of trap where she can't get a place because she hadn't had a job. She hadn't had this. She hadn't had that. So it's all their control. So they create homelessness. They create criminals. They do all that on purpose. They know that there's all these loopholes. They do it on purpose. And so this woman was complaining about this and with the elderly and stuff. And especially if they're in all of a sudden stop Social Security and insurance and stuff. I mean, there's already so many people who are freaking out about some of this stuff with sicknesses and stuff because they're so dependent on Western medicine, and Western medicine just keeps kicking them in the face every time they go, and they're just distraught about it. And it's like it's gonna keep on hurting until you start pulling free and start seeing like I gotta do something different because these motherfuckers aren't here helping me. Each person has to do that for themselves. And so um the I just got lost again. um Anyways, I think I've already been talking a long time. So anyways, to me, there has definitely been like this spiritual attack. I definitely don't know what is going on. I don't know if like you're having some of these same things. Like I don't know. Um, when I went on and saw, it was definitely people saying some of these symptoms were like ascension things, which is always so confusing to me because with all of the sickness and stuff, it's like it's so hard to tell. Like, I mean, am I dizzy and have a headache because the frequency is up so much, and we've been in the fog for 3 days, or is it the planetary shifts or these I don't know, X class flares coming from the sun? Like you go look at all these energy reporters and these Schumann reporters and stuff like that. Like there's so much going on, and then you listen to the astrology people and they're talking about it's the way the moon and the planets are aligning right now and make you feel this way. So it's just like, man, who knows? But there's a lot of other people feeling the same way. So the whole thing is just to continue to wait and see like how this is going to go, even with, our own family members. And so, but being really aware of, we need to just keep releasing and understanding this is a spiritual thing. And, we're focusing all our reference in this physical, and we keep thinking that this is all there is and this is our only time with them and stuff, and they keep on telling me and making it so clear. And even with our kids and stuff, we have to let go of so much of that stuff to keep our own spirit moving, because if we're held back in other people's stuff, we're held back in the past, especially with your kids in that relationship. If they're held back trying to keep you in trauma and drama, it's like once you start on your enlightenment journey, you don't want to be in trauma and drama. You're releasing that stuff. And I can't sit back there if you want to just keep, sitting in that pool. It's a cesspool of emotions and the stuff you have to purge out yourself. I can't sit there and help you. It's stuff you have to see. Like my one daughter who keeps being like this to me, she cannot see that she is the one judging me. She's in so much judgment of me all the time. Like there's nothing I could do to make her happy. And somehow this upside down world has told her that's the right way, because that was one thing I saw yesterday when I was processing that. I could not, it was weird. I had never seen anything like this. How many moms, and apparently it was the same thing with the kids. How many kids were doing the same thing yesterday, but how many moms were like saying that they cannot believe how their kids treat them. Like, this is so weird. What has happened? Like, talking about all these different things of it. It was like all of us, yeah, who have adult children. It's like it is the weirdest thing. Just like, looking out at the sky and realizing like other people who are younger don't know that this is not the real sky. They think this is the real sky. They don't understand all this artificial shit. They don't understand the manipulation because we have experienced life without it. So we have reference. They have no reference. And so this is all life is to them. And, but it's, when you see how it is just so manipulative in their mind, and how much more if you, whatever your issues are with me, instead of keep trying to hold me in there thinking I can change them somehow, to recognize you're the only one who can change how you feel. You can change. I could sit here and apologize I could give you gifts all day long. I could do anything, and it's not going to change how you feel, because your feelings come from the inside, not from the outside. You have to connect to yourself to figure out, where are these feelings coming from? Why am I being binded by these feelings? Why these feelings keep coming to the surface every time this situation happens or that situation happens? What is it that I need to see here? And but they have people thinking it's always this person outside of them. It's their fault that they feel this way. It's like, no, the feelings are inside of you. It's your opportunity to see why you have those feelings, to recognize those feelings so you can heal those feelings. But that's the thing with my daughters, who want to keep me like I'm supposed to go in and heal this for them. Or if I do something different, they'll feel different. It's not the way it works. There's nothing I can do to change how you feel about yourself. The only person who can change that is you. And, really, there is totally like, if you have to really want change in order to go in and get change. You have to be willing to accept change. You have to change yourself for things to change. And like, I can go change my life, I can go do this or that. Is it going to have any effect on yours? No, because you're the only one who can do that for yourself. Nobody can do it for you. And that's the misconception, the misnomer of how they tell people how to heal. Go in, blame your mom. It's all your mom's fault. It's all your dad's fault. These people failed you. Go get some antidepressants. Go sit and whine and cry about how people are mean to you. It's like, that is not the way to live a productive life. That's a life that is going to keep you on drugs and unhappy and sad and feeling like a victim. It's it's the other side of the coin. And that is going to be the big flip, that big flip. That's the flip, is the caring for self, where people really want to feel better. They really don't want to play these games anymore. They're going to see the truth, and everybody is at their own levels of seeing the truth in all different ways. But there's still, to me, is going to be that huge shift, that huge turn the other direction. So, we're still in that process as far as I'm concerned. We're still in that way. And, so tomorrow's going to be the 19th, 20th, it's supposed to be significant. And Joe's still up there. So, who knows what they're going to do about that. Hopefully something fun and dramatic. Hopefully something starts being fun about this movie. Start making it a little bit more sassy and fun, instead of so just like demeaning and dreary and doomsday. And oh my God, just watching people be so stupid and gullible and ignorant. And it's like, oh my God, it's painful. So crazy how the people who think the one group is crazy is really the crazy group. It's like, oh my God, you can't even see, you're so crazy. So anyways, that's the humbling thing that's going to happen. They're going to have to face themselves, face their own mortality, face their own spirit, face everything about themselves. And so anyways, I don't know. I'm going to put this out there. We'll just see how it keeps going. I'm going to check my account and see. I don't know. I probably will do some TikToks today. We'll see. Like, I just feel like crap. Like, even taking the two things, it still is like this band, and I can barely see. And even if I put on the reading glasses to try and make things clear, it makes me so dizzy. It's like my eyes can't adjust. Like, there's some sort of, where to me, I know something with our physical eyes has a lot to do with this reality, and going inside has a lot to do with the ascension. And so, like I have been shown over and over, that this thing with my eyes, like, I know it has to do with the radiation and the chemicals and all that stuff. But it is, which, by the way, there's so many people who are just now realizing that the same stuff that is being put in the air, the water, and the food, they're just now realizing it. So, and every time that someone realizes that, they become like super distraught. Just like, oh my God, how do we survive this? And, it's everybody has to just keep on waking up so we can all come together and figure it out. Come together in communities and start banding together and taking care of one another and really figuring out what does it mean to be human. And it means that it's it's like all animals, all tribes, all, becoming a pack, not being out here as this single like duck on a thing that they're target practicing on, to come together as a flock. It's nature's way. So, anyways, I'll just keep talking and talking. So, hopefully, I've completed most of the things I've said. But we'll just see how it goes. Just no matter what, just stay helpful and know, like, if you're feeling this doomsday feeling, you're not alone, and that doesn't mean, I don't think, even if we do leave this game, that is still it's just leaving this, it's like a leveling up. It's, I just know the age of Aquarius whole thing, like, it's just way too crystal clear to me when other people don't even see it at all. And it's so clear to me. I can see it so clear. I can understand all of this whole concept, this whole thing of us transitioning into it, like, and why everything has to go. And even that guy who was talking to me, how he's like, being prepared and all that stuff, and how he was looking at things. And I said, the way I look at it is that we have a new world that is underneath the old world, and the new world is pressing up, it's moving up, and it is breaking apart the old world. The old world is fracturing, it's going into the past, it's going into the mud, into the depths of the earth experiences. So it is falling apart and going underneath us as this new world is sprouting and taking us forward. And so that is, there's some people who are going down with the old one and going, like, back home or wherever, or vibrationally they're going back to other worlds like this world. But otherwise, if you're sticking in this program reality world that we're experiencing going into the new age, it is, I think there's going to be like seamless kind of stuff. Even though we're going to go through some traumas, which maybe like the lights are going to go out all of a sudden and there's going to be complete darkness. And, a lot of people will die or something. And when they come back on, we're going to be in a new kind of world, not completely rebuilt or something, but there's going to be something different. It will probably be because the storms will have taken out so much or something, and the water will be different. Like, I don't know, man. Like, man, this is so much waiting to see. But I do think that this is the time. So, you know, there was one other thing I was gonna say. Oh yeah, yeah, because it is. It is like this. This new world is arising from underneath. It's the old world that is being. We're purging through it. We're moving through it and knocking and making everything show itself. And so that is how it's like clearly being seen. The disgusting. Oh my God, I cannot believe the disgusting of this. Oh, there's so much decrepit shit in this world, so much evil, so much greed, and so much human participation. People, I don't think, even realize the evilness that has lived inside of some of them. Like, I don't even think that they even know. And that is going to be a part of their awakening. The hard part of their awakening is seeing their own evilness that lived inside of them, especially with their ego telling them that they are superior. So, anyways, just keep talking. This is the longest I've ever talked on here on a recording, so I guess you can listen to it in parts. So anyways, have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.